Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Can you hear
Shalom.
me? See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you're listening to the mitzvot of Adonai your God, that I am giving you today. And the curse, if you don't listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God, but turn aside from the way I am ordering you today and follow other gods that you have not known. That's from Devarim, from Deuteronomy 11:26 through 28. Think long and hard about the words. Do you remember where else a similar choice was given? Do you remember the garden? Imagine the most beautiful garden ever created, a place of beauty and harmony, animals living in peace with humanity. No animal preyed upon another. They all ate fruit and vegetables, both man and beast. Even the flowers we love so much today did not have thorns and did not need to defend themselves from insects and pests. In the middle of this garden was a beautiful clearing, and perhaps on a gentle rising hill were two trees, both beautiful and unlike any other tree in the garden. While both were beautiful and endowed with good things, both held the fate of all humanity in their succulent fruits. Adam, who wore no clothing, just as the animals today wear no clothing, was taught by his creator. Then Adonai Elohim commanded the man, saying, "From all the trees of the garden you are most welcome to eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you must not eat. For when you eat from it, you most assuredly will die." Genesis 2:16 through 17. The other tree in the garden was the garden of life. What Adonai had done was present to humanity a choice: live forever unscarred by death and sorrow and sadness, or to constantly face the choice to choose good instead of evil. Remember the words given to that second generation of Israelites freed from slavery? See, I am setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the mitzvot of Adonai your God, that I am giving you today, and the curse, if you don't listen to the mitzvah of Adonai your God. Of course, we know the choice Adam and Eve made. We also know the choices the children of Israel made in the promised land. Yet through it all, Adonai Elohim never gave up hope. From the first generation to the last, as Isaiah tells us over and over again, for all this, his anger is not turned away, yet his hand is still outstretched. Isaiah 10, verse 4. The prophet Zechariah, one of the last minor prophets, said in a timeless message, "Therefore, tell them thus, says Adonai Sabaoth, return to me." It is a declaration of Adonai Sabaoth, "and I will return to you," says Adonai Sabaoth. "Do not be like your fathers, to whom the former prophets cried out, saying, thus says Adonai Sabaoth, turn back now from your evil ways and from your evil deeds." But they did not listen or pay attention to me. It is a declaration of Adonai. Your fathers, where are they? And the prophets, did they live forever? But my words and my decrees, which I commanded my servants, the prophets, did they overtake your fathers? Then they repented and said, as he determined, Adonai Sabaoth has dealt with us according to our ways and our deeds. Zechariah 1:3 through 6. There are people today who have been misled to believe that those words that Adonai Elohim gave to his people are somehow nullified, just canceled, that they are just historical facts, like beautiful paintings on an old church ceiling to be glanced at, adored, photographed, but never to be considered. This week's reading has 55 commandments. 17 are positive and 13 are negative. Whatever I command you, you must take care to do. You are not to add to it or to take away from it. So he says in Deuteronomy 13:1, Adonai, your God, you will follow, and him you will fear. His mitzvot you will keep. To his voice you will listen. Him you will serve, and to him you will cling. Deuteronomy 13, verse 5. But you know what? Our modern minds, well, we like to have modern arguments because it's in our nature to question everything and everybody, including the Creator. We think, that's too many commandments. And we think, that's just too complicated. Besides, some of these things we can't even do in modern times. On that last point, yes, there are civil and criminal laws that prevent us from putting false prophets to death. Also, we do not have a temple to complete sacrifices. But you know what's funny? On this point, Yeshua provided a solution, anticipating we would no longer have a temple. Listen carefully. This is why he emphasized with all your mind in the Shema. Paul said, I urge you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable to God, which is your spiritual service. Then he said something profound. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. Romans 12. So, how do we do that? Well, I would suggest to you, fill your mind and your thoughts with the Torah. What will happen is you'll begin to learn what's good and acceptable and perfect. It's an everyday process. And when in doing so, you will develop a relationship with Adonai's words. We begin to listen to the mitzvah in our thoughts, even when we're not reading them. In the process, we begin to choose blessings and choose life. You see, Yeshua said, my sheep hear my voice and they follow me. They hear his voice in their head, in their thoughts, in their mind. Do you remember the commandment about the false prophet? Let's put the renewal of our minds in practice. You must not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Adonai your God is testing you. You must not listen to the words of that prophet or that dreamer of dreams, for Adonai your God is testing you to find out whether you love Adonai your God with all your heart and with all your soul. That's in Deuteronomy 13:4. You see, in our quest to be stimulated, to have our feelings and our beliefs justified, are we listening to the words of these teachers whose doctrines do not align with the Torah? I won't go into any of those. I'll just say this. What I'm about to say to you is actually a whole detailed discussion. I could do it with charts and exercises to demonstrate it, but I'll just go ahead and say it. Our mind is the meeting place of our soul and our heart. The meeting place of our soul and our heart, our feelings and our will. So here is advice for a modern world. Get up and walk away when you hear conflicts with the Torah. Excuse yourself if you're there sitting with the people. Change the channel if you're watching TV. Stop giving false teachers your ears and your eyes. If you're on social media, scroll away. Turn to cat and dog videos. Or as Paul says, find something pure. You get the idea. Choose the blessing and choose life. And that blessing and life is clearly found in the study of the books of Moses, also in the prophets and in the writings. Some modern believers will say, oh, Jesus did away with the commandments. He nailed that to the cross. So we don't have to follow them anymore. That's the Old Testament. Did he really? Show me where it is, where it's written in the Holy Scriptures that Yeshua, or as they like to say, Jesus, did away with the commandments. So what did Yeshua actually say in the Scriptures? We heard it earlier. I'm going to remind you. Do not think that I came to abolish the Torah or the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. Amen. I tell you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or serif shall ever pass away from the Torah until all things come to pass. Therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others the same shall be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever keeps and teaches them, this one shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I tell you that unless your righteousness exceeds that of the Pharisees and Torah scholars, you shall never enter the kingdom of heaven. Why does he say that in Matthew 5? Simply, the Pharisees and the Torah scholars were hung up on the laws. They were hung up on practicing the law, but they missed the deeper meanings behind the laws. They missed the more important things, like taking care of people. In all matters in Matthew 5, Yeshua upheld the commandments. And in his life, he applied practical clarity to just about everything he talked about. Speaking evil of someone or putting someone down brings you in trouble with the judgment. He says, go and fix your relationships. Why? If you want your prayers to be answered. Then the hardest one for most of us, pray for your enemies or those who persecute you or want to do harm to you. Pray for your enemies. In Matthew 22, a legal scholar asked Yeshua, what's the greatest commandment in the Torah? Okay, here it is, right here, right now. Here's a chance for Yeshua to be the rebel that people try to make him out to be in those TV ads, to contradict the Torah and to establish a totally new path. So what was his answer? And he said to him, you shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor. Love your neighbor as yourself. The entire Torah and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Did you hear that? They literally hang on these two commandments. That means you can't take them away, that those two commandments give you the foundation on which everything else is built. Then later on, Yeshua told his followers, actually he said this for both those in his time and for all ages, all time periods. If you love me, keep my commandments. When the Greeks and the other Gentiles began to follow the sect of Judaism, which we called the way, which the scriptures call the way, Yeshua's disciples had an opportunity to lead believers down a new Christian path. In Acts, we read, Simon Peter has described how God first showed his concern by taking from the Gentiles a people for his own name. The words of the prophet agree. as it's written, after this, I will return and rebuild the fallen tabernacle of David. I will rebuild its ruins and I will restore it so that the rest of humanity may seek the Lord, namely, all the Gentiles who are called by my name, says Adonai, who makes these things known from of old. Therefore, I judge not to trouble those from among the Gentiles who are turning to God, but listen carefully, but to write to them to abstain from the contamination of idols, from sexual immorality, and from what is strangled, and from blood. For Moses, from ancient generations, has had in every city those who proclaim him, and since he is read in all the synagogues every Shabbat. Oh my goodness, that's radical. Where did they come up with that? Where could they possibly have come up with those principles? You'd be surprised. They're in our Parshahs. They're in our readings. As a matter of fact, some of those that I just read are in this week's reading. Are they written in other Parshahs and other readings? Yes, they are. So, are the Parshahs read every Shabbat in synagogues? Yes, they are. Yeshua had risen into heaven by this time. So his apostles had a chance to change the Shabbat to the first day of the week, to the day of the sun. But they didn't. For that, they would have to wait for the bishops hundreds of years later in the councils of Nicaea to take the Shabbat and turn it into another day. Gods that you have not known. So why did they say Moses is read every Shabbat? Why didn't they say Moses and the Torah is done away with? Telling Gentiles Moses is taught every Shabbat means go to the synagogues every Shabbat and hear the words of Moses. Why? Because, as he said, there are things that Adonai Elohim will make known from of old. You see, if you want to know the mysteries of life, if you want to know how things really are, the key to great relationships, if you want to know all the amazing magical things that have happened to this planet from long ago, Adonai Elohim will make known from of old all of these mysteries, all of these things, every Shabbat. In the words of Moses, if you are a people called by the Lord's name, that is where you will find him. That is where you will find him. Every Shabbat, in the words of Moses, in the readings. So I repeat the invitation of Adonai through Moses. I'm setting before you today a blessing and a curse. The blessing, if you listen to the mitzvah of Adonai your God that I'm giving you today. And that curse, if you don't listen to the mitzvah of Adonai your God, but turn aside from the way I'm ordering you today and follow other gods that you have not known. The gods worshipped on Sunday are not the gods that you have known. The gods worshipped on any other day other than the Shabbat are not the gods that you have known. Because the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the mighty one of Israel, is the Father who sanctified the Shabbat, the seventh day. And Yeshua is the Lord of the Shabbat. Without his righteousness and the covering of his blood sacrifice, we are all lost. And even still, Yeshua tells us, be perfect. Still strive for perfection. All his followers keep the Shabbat and the holy days of our Father. Choose the blessing and choose life. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Why? So that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. Now, maybe your life has taken a few wrong turns. Maybe you made some pretty bad decisions. I confess I have. Maybe you only sin a little bit, or maybe you sin a lot. I know it's not too late. Let me read for you the words from Lamentations. This was written after the fall of Jerusalem. This I recall to my heart. Therefore I have hope. Because of the mercies of Adonai, we will not be consumed, for his compassions never fail, for they are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. Great is your faithfulness. Adonai is my portion, says my soul. Adonai is my portion, says my soul. Therefore, I will hope in him. Adonai is good to those who wait for him, for the soul that seeks him. Lamentations 3, verses 21 through 25. You see, even when Israel and Judah were staring down the blade of Assyrian and Babylonian soldiers, the words of Isaiah just echoed through the air. For all this, his anger is not turned away, yet his hand is still outstretched. Repeatedly, he says this in Isaiah, yet his hand is still outstretched to lift you up out of the dirt, out of the muck, out of the sin, out of the failures. His hand is still outstretched. Remember how Balaam tried to curse the children of Israel? But Adonai refused to listen to Balaam. And Adonai, your God, turned the curse into a blessing for you because he loves you. Deuteronomy 23, verse 6. Return to me. It is a declaration of Adonai Sabaoth. And I will return to you, says Adonai Sabaoth. So today, before Havdalah tonight, if you have not read Deuteronomy 11, 26 through 16, verse 17, read it, please. Yes, you will see things we can't possibly do today without a temple. But you will also see dietary laws that will keep your body fit and healthy and clean. And you'll see the ethical treatment of others. And you'll see the holy days, which give to us a complete renewal. And then next week, pick up the next Parshah. And then the next, because we're counting down to the end of this year. Finish out these days before Sukkot by being immersed in the Torah. Renew your mind and be transformed. Choose the blessing and choose life. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. We stop the recording. We'll have to stop it.
You have to do it on your side. Got the little recording doesn't let me do it.